What happens when someone says on live television the one thing that was never supposed to be said, and everything spirals out of control? It wasn't supposed to come out like this. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Dr. Phil froze mid-gesture, his hand still raised from making a point. The woman on the couch, Amanda, had just said something she couldn't take back. And in that split second, everyone in the studio knew this show had just gone completely off script. What came next would become one of the most talked about moments in Dr. Phil history. 48 hours earlier, the show's producers had received what seemed like a straightforward case. Amanda Reeves, 34, mother of two, had written to the show about her crumbling marriage. Her husband, Marcus, had been emotionally distant for months. They tried counseling, but nothing worked. The setup was classic Dr. Phil territory. Relationship breakdown, communication issues, bring them both on stage, work through it. But there was something the producers didn't know. Something Amanda herself had buried so deep she'd almost convinced herself it wasn't real. The morning of the taping, Amanda sat in the green room, hands shaking as she held a styrofoam cup of coffee. Across from her, Marcus scrolled through his phone, barely acknowledging her presence. They'd driven to the studio in separate cars. Hadn't spoken in the hotel the night before. "Mrs. Reeves?" A production assistant poked her head in. "We're ready for you." But what neither Amanda nor Marcus knew was that Dr. Phil had received additional information just minutes before taping began. The stage lights were blinding when Amanda walked out first. The audience applauded politely. She took her seat on the iconic beige couch, smoothing her dress nervously. Marcus followed, sitting as far from her as the couch allowed. Dr. Phil entered with that commanding presence he'd perfected over 2 decades. "All right, let's get into this," he said, settling into his chair. "Amanda, you wrote to me saying your husband has become a stranger. Talk to me about that." Amanda launched into her prepared speech. The emotional distance. The missed dinners. How Marcus would come home late, shower immediately, barely speak. "It's like living with a ghost," she said, voice cracking authentically. Dr. Phil nodded, took notes. This was familiar ground. Then he turned to Marcus. "What's your side?" Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "I've been working a lot. Trying to provide for the family. I don't think that's a crime." "Nobody said it was," Dr. Phil replied. "But your wife feels abandoned. Do you see that?" The conversation was following the script perfectly. Until it wasn't. Dr. Phil leaned forward, that penetrating gaze fixed on Marcus. "Let me ask you something direct. Is there someone else?" The question landed like a slap. Marcus's face went white. "What? No. Absolutely not." But Amanda made a sound, something between a laugh and a sob. Dr. Phil's attention snapped to her instantly. He had that radar, that ability to sense when something bigger was lurking beneath the surface. "Amanda? You have something to say?" She shook her head rapidly, but tears were already streaming. I can't do this anymore." Dr. Phil held up his hand, signaling to the crew. "Hold on. Stop the tape." The studio went completely silent. This almost never happened. Dr. Phil stood, walked over to Amanda, and crouched beside the couch so they were eye level. The cameras kept rolling, but the energy had shifted entirely. This wasn't show business anymore. This was crisis intervention. "Talk to me," he said quietly. "What's really going on here?" Amanda looked at Marcus, then back at Dr. Phil. Her whole body was trembling. There's something I haven't told him." Marcus sat up straighter. "What are you talking about?" Dr. Phil raised his hand again without looking at Marcus. "Let her speak." And that's when Amanda said it. The thing that would change everything. "The reason you come home and shower immediately," Amanda said, voice barely above a whisper, "is because you're not coming from work, are you?" Marcus's face strained of color. "Amanda, don't. You've been going to the clinic. For treatments. Because you're sick." The audience gasped collectively. But Amanda wasn't finished. She was unraveling now, words tumbling out faster than she could stop them. And I knew. I've known for months. I found the medical bills, the prescription bottles you hid in the garage. I know you didn't want me to know because you thought I couldn't handle it. But what you don't know. She stopped, hand flying to her mouth. Oh God. Dr. Phil's expression shifted from concern to something deeper. He glanced off stage, and one of the producers immediately understood, disappearing into the wings. What don't I know? Marcus's voice cracked. He was standing now, moving toward Amanda. What are you talking about? Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most powerful part of this story is still ahead. Amanda's face was buried in her hands now. Dr. Phil placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Take your time. But I think you need to tell him. It wasn't supposed to come out like this. She sobbed. I had a plan. I was going to tell you privately, after the show. I had a whole thing planned. Tell me what? Marcus was pleading now, all defensive walls completely down. Amanda looked up at him, mascara running down her cheeks. I'm pregnant. The words hit the studio like a physical force. Marcus stumbled back a step, hand gripping the back of the couch for support. The audience was dead silent. You could hear the buzz of the stage lights. But Dr. Phil was watching Amanda's face, and he saw something else there. Something that made him signal to the producer who'd returned with a manila envelope. There's more, isn't there? He said softly. Off camera, Dr. Phil made a choice no producer expected. He took the envelope, but didn't open it. Instead, he turned to Marcus. Son, come sit down. Marcus looked confused, but he moved back to the couch, this time sitting right next to Amanda. His hand found hers instinctively. The reason you've been hiding your illness, Dr. Phil said to Marcus, is because the doctors told you about your prognosis, didn't they? Marcus's chin dropped to his chest. A single nod. And you, Dr. Phil turned to Amanda, found out you were pregnant after you discovered his medical records. Another nod. She was squeezing Marcus's hand so hard her knuckles were white. Which means, Dr. Phil continued, his voice carrying that rare combination of authority and tenderness. You've both been carrying impossible weight, separately, thinking you were protecting each other. But what happened next is something no one in the room, or watching at home, saw coming. Dr. Phil opened the envelope. Before we started taping today, I had my team do something. With your permission, based on the releases you signed. He pulled out a single sheet of paper. Marcus, your medical team sent over your latest test results. The ones from last week. Marcus looked up, confusion mixing with fear. Your cancer markers, Dr. Phil said, and his face broke into the first smile of the segment. Are dropping. Significantly. The treatment is working, Marcus. Your doctor wanted you to know before you got here today, but couldn't reach you. The sound Marcus made was inhuman, a mix of sob and gasp and disbelief. Amanda turned to him, both of them crying now, and they fell into each other. The embrace was the kind you see in movies, the kind that makes you believe in hope again. The audience erupted. Not polite applause, raw, emotional, standing ovation. Several people were openly weeping. Dr. Phil let them have their moment. He stood, hands in pockets, that characteristic head tilt that said, I'm here but I'm giving you space. The cameras captured it all. The reunion that had been building for months but happened in seconds. When they finally pulled apart, Amanda was laughing through tears. You're okay? You're really okay? The doctor said if the next 3 months continue this trend. Marcus couldn't finish the sentence, but hope was written all over his face. Dr. Phil sat back down, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. Now, let's talk about this baby. Amanda's hand moved protectively to her stomach, still flat under her dress. I found out 2 weeks after I found his medical bills. And I didn't know how to tell him because I thought, if he thought he was dying, finding out about a baby he might never meet would be the cruelest thing you could do. Dr. Phil finished. So you carried it alone? I was going to wait until after today. Until I had a plan. But Dr. Phil wasn't done. The envelope still had something in it. He pulled out a small card, business card size, and held it up. This is from Dr. Sarah Chin. She's one of the leading oncologists in the country and a personal friend. She's agreed to consult on your case, Marcus, no charge. She wants to see you next week. He pulled out another card. This is for Dr. Rebecca Morrison. She specializes in high-risk pregnancies. Given the stress you've been under, Amanda, I want you to have the best prenatal care available. Also no charge. She's doing this as a favor to the show. He pulled out one more item. A small envelope, this one sealed. He handed it to Amanda. Don't open it now. But when you get home tonight, when you're both together and alone, open this. It's something the crew and I put together for you. Share and subscribe. Make sure this story is never forgotten. Amanda took the envelope with shaking hands, clutching it to her chest like a life preserver. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Dr. Phil said. But I want you both to hear this, and I want everyone watching to hear this too. He turned slightly, addressing both the studio audience and the cameras. Life is going to throw things at you that feel impossible to carry. Disease, fear, uncertainty. These are weights that can break you if you try to carry them alone. But here's what I know after doing this for 20 years. The moment you think you're protecting someone by hiding your truth is the exact moment you need to share it most. He looked back at Marcus and Amanda. You two almost destroyed your marriage trying to protect each other. But the truth, messy, scary, unplanned as it came out, that truth saved you. Because now you can carry it together. Marcus pulled Amanda close again. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry I shut you out. I'm sorry too, she whispered back. We're going to be okay. All three of us. The camera captured them in profile, foreheads touching, and in that image you could see everything. Pain and relief and hope and fear and love all tangled together in the most human way possible. The show wrapped shortly after, but the impact rippled out for months. The video of Amanda's accidental reveal became one of the most shared Dr. Phil clips in history. Not because it was scandalous or dramatic in the way producers usually hope for, but because it was real. People saw themselves in that moment. The secrets they'd kept, the burdens they'd carried alone, the truth that felt too big to speak. Marcus's cancer markers continued to improve. 6 months later, they sent the show an update. He was in remission. 9 months after the taping, Amanda gave birth to a healthy baby girl. They named her Sophia, Wisdom. And that sealed envelope Dr. Phil had given them? It contained a letter, handwritten by Dr. Phil himself, along with a check covering 6 months of groceries and utility bills. The letter read, You're about to have a newborn and a recovery to focus on. Don't let financial stress steal this time. You've earned your joy. Phil. In his personal notes after the show, Dr. Phil wrote something he rarely shared publicly. Today reminded me why I do this. Not for the ratings or the viral moments, but for the seconds when the facade breaks and humans remember how to be human with each other. Amanda said it wasn't supposed to come out like this, but maybe that's exactly how it needed to come out. Sometimes the truth doesn't arrive on schedule or in the format we planned. Sometimes it crashes through our carefully constructed walls at exactly the moment we stop trying to control it. And sometimes, the thing we most feared saying becomes the thing that saves us. The manila envelope, empty now except for the doctor's cards, sat on his desk for weeks afterward. A reminder that every person walking into that studio carries secrets. And his job, the real job, beyond the cameras and the audience and the production schedule, is to create the space where those secrets can finally stop being weapons and start being bridges. Amanda and Marcus went on to become advocates for cancer patients and their families, speaking at hospitals about the importance of open communication during crisis. That small sealed envelope, the one with the letter and the check, they kept in a frame above their daughter's crib. Not for the money, they'd deposited that and used it as intended, but for the reminder it represented. Someone had seen them. Someone had heard them. And in their darkest, most isolated moment, someone had reached out and said, "You don't have to do this alone." That's the legacy of the moment when Amanda said the thing that wasn't supposed to come out. It came out messy and unplanned and terrifying. But it came out true. And truth, as Dr. Phil has proven thousands of times over, is the only foundation solid enough to build a life on. Years later, when Sophia was old enough to ask about the framed envelope above her crib, Marcus and Amanda sat her down and told her the story. Not the sanitized version, but the real one, about fear and secrets, and the moment everything almost fell apart. They told her about the man on television who stopped everything to make sure they heard each other. Who reminded them that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the bravest thing you can offer another person. Sophia listened with wide eyes, then asked a question only a child could ask with such clarity. "So the scary thing saved you?" Amanda and Marcus looked at each other, then back at their daughter. "Yes," Amanda said. "The scary thing saved us."